Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. My name is George, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at a watch from a micro brand called Harrow watches. This is a British London-based micro brand, and this is their second take at the Nauticus. The design has been inspired by elements from London's architecture, and Richard, who is the brand owner, claims that value for money has been at the forefront of the company from the very beginning. The Nauticus will be going live on Kickstarter sometime in October, and it will start from £299. Now, the best thing about this is that I think that it will also stop at £299, and this is the final price. I don't think there's going to be any kind of early bird specials or anything. This will be the final price of the Nauticus. If that's the case, considering the specs, that makes it a very, very appealing package. The watch that I have here today, which is this one right over here, so this is the Nauticus. This is just a prototype, and so far a very, very good one. To my knowledge, there won't be any big changes to the final product, so this is kind of the one that you're going to get in the production version. And so far, like I said, this has been a very good watch. I couldn't find any obvious issues with it. But how good is it? Let's find out. We all know that the diver market is overly saturated at the moment. Like I said in the past, in my opinion, the easiest way to enter that market is with a diver watch because everyone loves them. But that still imposes a challenge because you still need an interesting design and something to make it stand out. The Nauticus certainly has that standout factor in a combination of value for money and design. Stick with me, it's going to make sense soon. Let's get the dimensions out of the way. The case diameter is 41 millimeters, and it does wear bang on like a 41. Thickness is 11.5 millimeters, so for a diver that's actually quite slim with a flat sapphire crystal. The lug to lug is 48.5, but despite the fact that we have a Jubilee bracelet, the end links don't fully articulate, so that takes it up to a little over 50 millimeters, but they do point downwards and they conform nicely to the wrist. Lug width is 20 millimeters, so in case you want to swap that Jubilee for a different strap, you should have no problems finding replacements. As you can see, the dimensions are quite manageable for a 200 meter rated water resistant diver, considering the fact that most divers nowadays with the same rating are upwards of 42 millimeters. And finally, the weight is a perfectly manageable 128 grams. I think this is great. I had this on wrist for a couple of days straight, and it felt very, very comfortable. I didn't even realize I had it on, especially with that Jubilee bracelet. Like I was saying, guys, the Nauticus wears like a solid 41 millimeters, and I believe that 128 gram weight is a key element here in the comfort part. The case is 3/6L stainless steel, and the finishing on this prototype is actually quite good. Polished on the side of the case and soft brushing on top of the lugs. There are no fancy chamfered edges here, which is fine, and as long as the rest of the finishing is done okay, I have no problem with that. And in this case it is, like I can't really have no complaints. At 3 o'clock we have the screw down crown with the Harrow logo engraved on it. The crown action is quite good, and it does actually have plenty of grip. Although visually, I find that it's slightly larger than I would have wanted it to be. But then again, this being a diver, you're meant to operate the crown with diving gloves, so it's kind of justified. Also, between the crown and the screw down display case back, we have a stated water resistance of 200 meters. The bezel is 120 click unidirectional with an aluminium insert with a Lume pip at the 12 o'clock. Now this is where the cost cutting comes into place, because a ceramic insert would definitely push this over the £300 mark. To be honest, ceramic would look good, but for me, aluminium looks just as good. But the only downside is that this will scuff and small scratches will appear over time with usage. The bezel action on this prototype is good, clicky, and it aligns perfectly, but the grippiness, not so much. Because it's quite thin, there is not much to grip in order to turn it easy, and it does require a bit of persuasion. Maybe this is something that will be changed in production model, but then again, it's just something to note. Moving on to the dial, the Nauticus comes in black. Now, not sure if there would be any other colors here in the future, but in my honest opinion, I wouldn't see this dial with a different color. Maybe blue even. We have this texture part where the applied indices align with a flat surface towards the center of the dial. I love this combination of textures because it gives it depth and also turns a simple boring black dial into something a bit more interesting. Towards the outer edge of the dial we have the minute track in this kind of light silver tone which contrasts the dial quite nicely. We also have these kind of scissored style hands with a red tip on the second hand that complements the automatic writing also in red at the 6. The minute hand reaches all the way out to the outer edge of the dial, which helps with legibility. In terms of branding, they kept it simple. Harrow at the 12, Nauticus at the 6, and also at the 6, just below that frame date window, we have in a smaller font the words Swiss made. All of this is done in white. Overall, I like the dial, its functionality, well laid out, and also not too out there. In terms of lume, we have BGW9 Swiss Superluminova. The application is very, very good. Even for a prototype, this shines bright enough. Now, I'm not sure if they will add more layers of lume in the production model, but even so, I'd say this has plenty. The movement powering this is a Swiss-made STP-111. It's a high beat 28,800 BPH or a movement based on the ETA 2824 and the Salita SW200 with a power reserve of 44 hours and a stated accuracy of minus to plus 20 seconds per day. It hacks, it hand mines, and this one I would say it's an interesting choice because not many brands use this as it hasn't been around for that long. I think it popped on the market sometime in 2012 or so, I'm not entirely sure. Now this doesn't mean it's a bad movement, it's just relatively new compared to other Swiss movements in the same price range. It fits in the same case as an ETA, so if you feel like swapping this down the line, you shouldn't have any issues. Now price for these individually would be around $150 or so. This is what I managed to find out from my search online. I'm not sure how much it'll cost in bulk, but just again, something to keep in mind. Finally, we get to the bracelet. We have a pretty standard Jubilee 20mm solid end links with a milled clasp, which has 5 micro adjustments, so plenty. This is held in place just with this safety latch with the Harrow watches logo engraved on it. Now you don't have double pushers to release the clasp, which is not the end of the world, but the safety on this clasp feels like it's something from another bracelet as it doesn't align properly and somehow it looks bigger. Now this being a prototype, I won't judge it too harshly, and I can only presume that this will be addressed in the production version. Overall, this is a pretty comfortable bracelet like I mentioned, but you can tell this was on the cost-cutting list. To draw the line under all this, guys, the Nauticus is not perfect by any means, but think about the fact that this is aimed towards a price bracket where brands are still selling NH35s, or best case scenario, the Mayota 9000 series. I think for a microbrand, the movement offering here is a very attractive proposition, and pair that with a fresh and interesting design and all of a sudden this starts to make sense. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the Nauticus? Let me know in the comment section below what you think, and if you can find a better offering for the money on the market. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Click a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't so. Hit that bell icon if you want to be notified about future videos that I post. Thank you very much again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.